Hi guys, and welcome to the video. So, I just got done watching the Orville, Season 3, Episode 3. So this episode was pretty much a take on the Twilight Zone, mixed in with a few elements from Star Trek. It's getting hard not to compare this show to Star Trek anymore, because a lot of the ideas that they have are from Star Trek. And it's just beginning to wear a little bit thin. As usual, I will be breaking down the episode. I will try and keep it as short and succinct as possible. But if you don't want to know what happens in the episode, then just go to this time index on the video. So the episode opens with Tala returning from her vacation. She visits Commander Grayson and informs her that she had a nice time, but also she picked up some Kaylon readings. So she reports it to Grayson and goes back to work. Cuts to the bridge where Tala's sharing some Solaire chocolate. Everyone's really enjoying it. Except for Bordus, he's on a diet. He wants to work on that summer body. Which reminds me, I really need to work on my summer bod. I'll do it tomorrow. Isaac picks up an EM signature on a planet that's pretty much not supposed to have anything on it. It's a barren desert world. So they go and investigate. The episode then turns into a kind of a mystery Twilight Zone episode. However, instead of the crew investigating and trying to solve things, it's more like they're in a like a haunted mansion where they just go from room to room, and things happen and they just go to the next room. They've got no real control over what happens. So basically, they go to this planet and there's a civilization that's not supposed to be there. An interesting concept in itself, but I think this episode kind of wastes the concept. They go down to the planet and there's a forest where there should have been buildings and cities that they initially detected. However, there should technically be nothing because the last time they checked, and it's been checked several times, this is a desert planet. It's like Tatooine. So the away team go down in a shuttle. Once again, Captain Mercer and the first officer have to go on the away mission because even though it could be perilous and they lose their commanding officers, it's the Orville. It's not Star Trek in some ways. It's just the Orville. They got their own set of rules and they just go with it. I don't agree with it, but that's what they do. You go down to the surface, it's a forest, and I'm not joking about this, but they happen upon a high school. A high school in the middle of a forest. So clearly there's some kind of illusion going on here. They go into the high school and it's a typical high school. There are high school kids in there. They're trapped in there. They can't get out. They decide to investigate. They talk to a bunch of students who aren't in any way freaked out about Bordus looking like Bordus. This section of the episode was kind of frustrating because there was so much wasted time. Tala and Bordus go into a classroom where this guy's teaching and she tries to get out the window. She tries to bang out the window. She can't get out. They tried shooting the way out. They can't escape this building. So this scene is a complete waste of time. They come back out and Malloy's gone. He's wandered off on his own, probably breaking all away team policies, but definitely not breaking any of those Star Trek tropes. He then gets shoved into the bathroom by some bullies, gets the shit kicked out of him, and I mean the royal SHIT out of him. He gets swirled as well. He gets his head dunked in the toilet. And they tell him he better pay up. He better pay Tyler, or begins with a T. I don't know. There's this main bully he's going to have to pay. And at this point, I was genuinely feeling like I'd been sucked into the Twilight Zone because nothing made sense. I had faith that it would all make sense. And it kind of did. And kind of didn't at the same time. Anyway, I digress. The crew reunite in the hallway and they go to the cafeteria. They try to ascertain what is going on and why is there a high school on a random planet in the middle of a forest. They sit at the nerd table or the table of the bullied. Gordon says, look, apparently I owe this guy money, and he says I've got till 3:15 to pay up. And the bully says, oh yeah, you should pay up because if you don't, essentially, he's going to kill you. Whilst all this is happening, the Orville have absolutely no idea what's happened to the away team. They've seemingly disappeared. Isaac recommends not sending another away team, but Lamar sends one anyway. Back down on the planet, the class bell goes, and Mercer and crew decide to follow the students out. They finally get out of the school, where they intend to go and meet this bully to try and figure out how to resolve this situation. It's not a bully, it's a giant monster that goes after them. And I did sort of think Malloy's reaction was just, oh, shit, which was pretty funny. I must admit, I did laugh at that. This giant monster alien creature grabs Malloy, and Malloy's eyes turn white. And at this point, you don't really know why. But I thought, oh, it's going to be a Malloy possession episode where he's going to go nuts and, chase him around a haunted school or something. That would have been a far more interesting episode. They managed to subdue this monster in a fashion, and the monster fell down. Malloy got away. They run back into the school, and as they run back into the school, they end up on an aeroplane. And immediately I thought, there's someone on the wing. Thing. That was an Ace Ventura impression of Bill Shatner. Anyway, they're on this plane, and the stewardess tells them they've got to sit down. So they go sit down, and they're trying to ascertain what is going on. Gordon tells the stewardess that he's a pilot, and he'll be able to fly the plane should there be any problems. The plane gets a lot of turbulence, and the away team go to the cockpit, while the stewardess is nagging them to sit back in their seats. And there's no pilots. There's no one flying the plane, so they go to fly the plane. There's a funny moment where the stewardess is saying, gentlemen, you need to sit back in your seats. She's getting really irate. Kelly just turns around and lamps her one. Again, laughed out loud at that moment. And it's the crew's reaction and just the look on Kelly's face. It was priceless. It was so funny. So the crew have to fly the plane. A series of unfortunate events occur where everything just starts failing. The plane is going to fall out of the sky. Gordon manages to crash land the plane. And during the crash landing, Mercer's eyes go white, just like Malloy's did. The plane's sitting on the edge of a precipice. They get out of the plane. All the people are just gone. When they get out of the plane, they end up in a Moclan morgue, where there's a bunch of Moclan coffins that look like eggs or pods. Tyler touches a panel, clearly ignoring the rules of the Belters. If anyone saw my Strange New Worlds video, you'll get that reference. Don't touch anything. You're not allowed to touch anything. You've got to use your tricorder. She opens up the pods, and in one of the pods is Kaylon, and he grabs Bordis and nearly strangles him to death. Bordis' eyes also go white at this point. A doorway opens up and leads them down a very, very long staircase. They said there's a portal 1,000 meters away. I'm thinking 1,000 meters, and they just covered it in 20 seconds. I mean, that's a bit weird. It could be right in context with the weirdness of the episode. All the while, it's cutting back and forth to the Orville. The second landing pod, you find the shuttle, and it's empty. Lamar orders them back up to the ship. Cuts back to the crew. Once they go through this portal at the bottom of the staircase, they end up near a lake, Solaire. They surmise that it's more of a hallucination. It's not really real, because obviously the gravity on Solaire would kill them. And I always loved that episode where Alara goes home. It's got Robert Picardo and John Billingsley. It's a great episode, and it really showed the power of what a dense gravity can do to you. I thought that was a really cool episode. Anyway, they're on this illusion of Solaire. There's this raft that goes across the river. There's this light blinking in the background. And they said, well, we better go and check it out. Bordis quite rightly points out it could be a trap. Mercer tries to go, but Grayson orders him not to. They agree, yeah, fine, okay, you can go. Mainly because it's Grayson's turn to be brought to the brink of death. She gets pulled down in the river by Space Kraken, and her eyes turn white as well. Although this image doesn't show it, they actually turn white. They manage to get out of this situation because Tyler actually dives in and helps her get free. And Tyler says, I experienced it too. It's weird. But we didn't see her experience the eyes missing. And they've all said pretty much the same thing, that when that happened, they felt like they were pushed out of their own body, that they weren't actually, that they were in another place. It was really bizarre. Anyway, a door appears, quite a cool little scene. Steps start forming and this door appears. Mercer decides he's had enough. He shouts out that he's had enough. He's not dealing with any more of this shit. He and crew decide to go off in a completely different direction, where they pick up some energy readings. They make it to this cavern, and it's got a holographic projector protected by a shield. They take the shield down and destroy the projector, and seemingly everything's back to normal. They pick up parts of the projector for analysis and go back to the ship. Back on the Orville, Finn explains that the entire ordeal was part simulation and part kind of bad LSD trip, like ayahuasca, the hallucinogen, a combination of the two. They still don't know who's responsible, and then John calls them down to engineering. He's analysing the fragments of this projector. Turns out it's the Kaylon. If, like me, you like the fact that the Kaylon are there, but you don't want them being covered in absolutely every episode. I want some Kaylon-free episodes. Not Isaac-free, but certainly Kaylon-free. Apparently the Kaylon are looking to manipulate organic life on a psychological level. Mercer contacts Halsey and tells him what's gone off. Halsey says he's dispatching a convoy with a scientific ship to do the research on the fragments. It cuts to the scene with the convoy, and Isaac says, "Sir, that's not a convoy, those are Kaylon ships." Burke gets all bent out of shape, saying we can't trust Isaac because, whatever sleeper program he's got installed that she believes is installed. The Kaylon attack. They're at red alert, and suddenly they're not at red alert, and one of the officers says, "Oh, I've got Tala on the comm." And Tala says, "Yeah, I'm all right. I'm still at the rendezvous point waiting for you to meet me. I'm just on my vacation. Where are you?" That points to the little clue we got before. Away team Tala isn't Tala. She's clearly an imposter. Cuts back to the hallucination because the crew are still hallucinating clearly. This Kaylon ship makes a run at the Orville and the program freezes. Not Tala reveals herself to be an alien lady from Tron or something. Turns out that this species, this individual, it ties back to the episode from, I believe, season 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the episode with the planet that phases in and out of the of real space, and every time it phases out, it advances a certain amount of thousands of years. Kelly Grayson, she contaminates the culture by healing a little girl that's fallen over who's running away from her. And then when the planet goes round the cycle again, has been advanced. The stories of Kelly have gotten out, and she's become practically a worshipped figure. So that species continued the cycle of evolution. It's kind of like the Voyager episode Blink of an Eye, which I thought was a great episode. And it's a similar sort of situation. So they've advanced so much that they've actually become immortal. They've greased the cogs of evolution to make it a lot faster and a lot more efficient. They now can't die. They can live forever. So they want to experience through others being brought to the brink of death. She explains what she's done, and Mercer's not very happy. There's a lot of questions about why she did what she did. She talks a little bit about evolution and how human beings are evolving too slow, and she's sure they'll meet again and all of that, and she disappears. The crew head back up to the ship and have a drink. And then this is the end of the episode at this point. But it's at this point where the episode actually gets a little bit of depth, but it literally just dips its toe in the depth. When Mercer's talking about existence and how when the brink of death, nobody knows because they're on the brink of death and they usually die afterwards. They don't know what happens when we die. Now, obviously, no one knows what happens when we die, or no one knows for sure. People have their theories, people have had experiences and whatnot, but Mercer raises a good point about it not being, so much about what happens to others after death. It's about what happens to the individual. Because if you die and there's nothing and you experience nothing, you yourself are experiencing nothing, which means you still exist. You're still capable of thought. But absolute lack of existence, no one can imagine what that's like. The episode, like I say, dips its toe into a little bit of depth in that respect. Mercer said, I want to live forever because I want to see what happens. And it brought up some really interesting questions about wanting to live forever. Do I want to live forever? I do not hear you ask, but you're going to get an answer anyway. The answer is no, I don't want to live forever. Because living forever would suck. It would suck the big one. You'd have to watch countless people that you've come to know, come to love, come to respect, come to revere, and come to endear, die. Your children, you'd have to watch them age, grow old, die. Their children, your grandchildren's grandchildren. You become completely cut off. And then what do you do if you're not a spacefaring civilization and you're stuck on a planet with the sun that's going to, explode or envelop the Earth? You're immortal, you live forever. Now, she didn't say she was invincible, but say you're invincible and you're immortal. What happens at the end of the universe when even black holes have evaporated? You're left alone, floating in space, cold, suffocating for eternity. No, thank you. I don't wish to live forever. Mercer's really not thought that one through. Or maybe I've thought it through a little too much. I did tell my dad before he died that I wouldn't want to live forever and why. And he just turned to me and went, whoa. I think that was one of the moments I genuinely impressed him. Yeah, with my dark thoughts of eternal life. It would genuinely suck, wouldn't it? Say it's this world and you manage to create the technology to actually get off the planet. Yeah, you'd be quite lucky, but you'd still be huddled around the last remnants of the last stars in the galaxy, because you wouldn't be able to get any further. And the universe is getting colder and colder and colder. Eventually, matter starts to decay. You're still there, floating in space. Infinite nothingness. Infinitely quiet, cold, and suffocating. I don't know how I got onto this, by the way. I'm sorry, Alan. That may not make the final cut, or I might leave that in there, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's the end of the episode. That's basically what happens. Was this a good episode? I'm going to be slightly controversial here, and I'm going to say it wasn't a great episode. It wasn't necessarily a bad episode. I'd say it was average. It really was. It didn't delve deep enough into anything. There was no investigations into what was actually going on. There was no questioning, what is this? Why is this happening? No logical train of thought. There were a few moments where they said, "Oh, this can't, this can't be Solaire because the gravity would kill us, so it's got to be an illusion." But there are other episodes of other shows that have done this and done it an awful lot better. And the payoff at the end was, I believe, just a wasted opportunity. There were so many elements pulled from everywhere, and I'm worried that the Orville can't survive without pulling loads of different elements. But it does point to an even bigger, I want to say, fear. It's not a fear I have, it's more of a worry. Creatively, as a society, I believe that we're approaching the issue of having done everything, having seen everything. Now, you could combat that by saying, well, you experience so much in a lifetime that you're bound to see things repeat. But the next generation of viewers will go, I've never seen this kind of story. So you're retelling it. But if that's the case, then this episode has not done a good enough job of retelling that kind of story. It felt like the crew were just on one of those moving, not escalators, just the flat ones, the ones where you get at airports to save you walking from terminal to terminal. You just stand there and it takes you along. It's like a travelator or something like that. And it looked like they were just being taken from place to place, pointed from A to B. And I don't think it really worked as an episode. To be fair, I think I'm just going to give this a 5 out of 10. It was average as F-U-C-K. It was just average. There were some nice comedy moments in there, some moments where I did laugh. But like I said in my previous videos, the Orville tonally has changed as a show. I was listening to The Drinker, and he was doing one of his, I believe his happy hours with Mark Secree. I believe it was Mark Secree said, look, the Orville, Seth MacFarlane wanted to get the Orville made. he avoided a load of lawsuits because he was able to make a satire show. But the intention was to always take it to the realm of a serious sci-fi show. And I'm worried that it's going to get a little bit too serious and disappear up its own backside, you know. In a very different way to New Trek. New Trek has disappeared up its own backside for other reasons. I don't think New Star Trek takes itself seriously at all. I believe that they think they're serious, but I don't actually think they're serious. I think the Orville is starting to take itself a little too seriously. But hey, that's just my opinion. Put your pitchforks away. I've prattled on for long enough, so I'm going to say a huge thank you for joining me. If you like what you see here and you want to see more, then please hit that subscribe button. It would really help the channel to grow. It's great to have all of you on board who have already subscribed. And if you like this video, then give it a like, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, please look after yourselves, look after one another. You take care of yourselves. Bye-bye for now.
I need the silence, stop the violence of the war in my head. Time's the healer, the eraser of all done and said. And as I fall back to my shelter, I know I'll only find peace in your smile.